It's a good one. Good late evening, almost morning to you. It is Wednesday, January 15th, just barely. It's 11:56 p.m. thanks to a very late tip-off, the 9:30 tip-off, because at least this one has a legit reason, unlike some of the games in the past years where you tip off at 9:30 just because of a TV doubleheader or whatever. This was the first of a West Coast swing for your Boilermakers. And the second half was a little bit different than the first half, you could say that. Purdue played a sluggish, disinterested brand of basketball in the first half. They were letting Washington dictate the terms of the game and the way the style of the game was going to be played. And Purdue looked very different in the second half and really exerted themselves in a lot of different ways. And a lot of different guys showed up and earned the victory. Purdue's, what did we say? 14th victory of the year, 6th in the conference. I'm going to talk all about it, but I want to thank our friends at Home Field Apparel before I do it. Head over to homefieldapparel.com, enter Boiled25 for 15% off your first order. Check out those retro sweaters. I keep telling you, check out the retro sweaters. Pretty badass. And also, when and if you're at Purdue the next time and they're playing a let's see, get this carrot. There we go. Get that angle just right. And then they're playing a tough game in the first half, but then they get gritty and they start playing Purdue basketball. You know what you do after that game? You jog towards the fire station. And then when you get there, you look to your left and you'll see the blue lights of AJ's. And inside, you're going to find the most helpful staff in all of the land, not just in West Lafayette. And their leaders, Adam and Jake, they know what they're doing. They know a little bit about the restaurant business. You sit down in a warm, cozy booth, watch a game, order a pint. You'll get a BS magnet at the bottom of it. It's on game day. It's pretty cool. But it's burgers, beef, beer, mac and cheese bites, delicious pretzel appetizers, all that. That's all AJ's. EatAJ's.com. Yeah, so Purdue wins 69-58 out in Seattle, and they played one of the worst first halves, or maybe one of the worst halves of the season. And they played some dog bad halves this year, haven't they? Second half versus Texas A&M was really bad. Second half versus Marquette was really bad. First half of Marquette was pretty bad. First half versus Penn State was really bad. But this might have been the worst because it was like a lethargic. Just an awful brand of basketball. You had some weird things happening. Fletch Lawyer didn't even score, I don't think, in the first half. TKR was getting just manhandled by Asabar. You may not remember, or you may remember that name right away, but why do you remember it? You say, oh, because he's at Utah State in the NCAA tournament. His coach, Danny Sprinkle, and he battled Zach Edey and Matt Painter and Fletch Lawyer and Braden Smith. The whole crew. It's a little bit different today. Asabar now is a $2 million man, according to one source I read. That's what he got in the NIL when he transferred. He's a good player. He's a good player, but you can wear him out. And Purdue decided not to do that in the first half. They decided to play right into the hands of Asabar and Reidenbach, who used to be at Nebraska, a guy who looks like he was just welcomed in from the YMCA, local YMCA. But when you see him, you remember him, no doubt about that. And they got some Diallo's a good player. They got some good players on that team, but they haven't been able to put it together, and they're not playing a really good brand of basketball. I think they lost 3 straight coming into that. Washington had, and Purdue conversely had won 5 straight. But Purdue was showing all the sluggishness of a team that had traveled all the way across the country to play a basketball game. And what do you know? They really didn't play well. Purdue's basketball play was as bad as the play-by-play on the TV. That team was really bad. The broadcast team was awful. The officiating in the first half looked like they didn't understand the rules. It was really not a fun half of basketball. I can only speak my own opinion here. Maybe you're different than me. Maybe you enjoyed that. But it was ugly basketball. Purdue had, 22 points? Let's look at that real quickly before I dig into other stats. But, yeah, Purdue had 22 points at the end of the first half. Washington had a commanding 8-point lead. The broadcast team couldn't understand how Purdue could play so poised under such pressure as being down by 8 points at the half. But Purdue looked like a different team. There's clearly a switch was flipped there. Painter earned his money, which he's done a lot this season. A lot of people are still weirdly critical of Matt Painter, which I don't understand that a whole bunch. But Painter and that staff did a great job of getting the guys' heads right, getting their hearts right, and they came out in that second half with a different pace and really, really turned it on them. It was about the 13 or 14 minute mark, I think, when the game really switched, and then Purdue didn't look back from there. They kind of pushed it out to a 14-point lead, and then kept it at double digits for much of the second half, much of the last 10 minutes, better said. But how did they do it? Well, they did it by TKR played really, really resolute basketball in the second half. Smith turned it up, and you could see it. He was starting to feel it, and was starting to play with a chip on his shoulder. And then Lawyer got involved with some of the most wizardry old man game plays ever. He had one where it was just a little teardrop, but he was kind of fading towards the hoop. And if you watch the video, he's looking away from the basket, thinking about passing it underneath to, I think, TKR. It's either TKR or First, but he's looking away from the basket as he's kind of gliding. And then he puts his eyes back on the basket and just makes a little teardrop. And if you watch the thing from the wide angle, you're like, okay, nice shot, but pretty impressive shot, really. And Fletch absolutely turned it on, almost got to his average on the season just in the second half, because he did not play in a noteworthy fashion, not a positive noteworthy fashion in the first half. But Caleb First was absolutely huge. And Caleb First had a play at the end of the game that kind of defined why he's been so important to this team, where he literally cleared out space underneath. Perhaps it should have been a foul, but it wasn't, because he's just playing hard, and he's kind of like allowing, well, the refs are going to call the game this way, I'm going to play this way. And this officiating crew, unlike many, they called it the same way on both ends of the floor, and they really let both teams play a bruising brand of basketball. It was, if you got in the lane, you were probably going to get knocked down. That's all there was to it. And First kind of said, I'm not going to get knocked around this time. So he cleared out space, grabbed the board, went up, and hit the layup. And I think he got a free throw right after. But Caleb First, if I give a game ball out, probably go to Caleb First. He was awesome. TKR was right there because his second half. Fletch had a great second half. Smith had a great game. Purdue did what Purdue should have done from the get-go in the second half. That's not a great Washington team. And they really showed how bad they were in the second half, because the way Purdue kind of picked them apart was just on playing with energy, not making a ton of mistakes, and putting all the pressure back on Washington's bigs to try to get into a pace that they were not comfortable playing at. So let's look at the stats together, see if they agree with what I was saying here. Let's see. Kaufman-Wren led all scorers with 19 points. The thing that's really cool about this stat sheet you're going to hear here is guys were not playing one-dimensional basketball. Most guys put a lot of numbers in a lot of different columns in the stat sheet. Kaufman-Wren, he's no different there. 19 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, a steal, a block. He did have 4 turnovers, but they were all in the first, 7 minutes? And that was one of the things that was so disconcerting, was Purdue tried to get the ball into him, and it would just kind of get knocked around like a pinball. And it was mostly just because he was getting beaten on, but he wasn't being very strong with the ball. So that was really the problem. But pretty good to lead all scorers, especially after that first half where he was struggling. 8 of 13 field goal shooting, solid game. Right after him, you have Braden Smith, 17 points. 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals. This type of thing, we take it for granted. And I've been trying to preach to everyone, and all you guys that are here listening, you already know it, but Braden Smith is not to be taken for granted. In spite of what the broadcasters thought of him, they were surprised at how athletic he was, which is the most thinly veiled code for a racial thing about a white guy who's a point guard. But clearly that broadcasting team didn't watch basketball outside of the West Coast. They were very McLean and Hamburg, or I don't know, Hathaway. I don't know what his name was. Doesn't matter. Don't really care. Hopefully they're not on the next game versus Oregon. Then you had Caleb First, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. Then you have Fletch Lawyer, who, his 12 points were impressive, but 12 points and 5 boards, pretty solid night. Miles Colvin off the bench had 4 points all in the first half. Didn't have any in the second half. Cam Heide had I believe it was 2 free throws. Yep, 2 free throws. Let's see. So Purdue was getting crushed on the boards in the first half. They ended up tying the rebounding battle 29-29, which matters. They were getting whipped on the turnover battle because they were turning the ball over like just way too often. They ended up only with 11 turnovers, and Washington up with 17. And in spite of the fact, I think Braden Smith had 2 turnovers in 2 straight possessions with about 4 minutes left, and still Purdue wins the turnover battle. Purdue shoots 72% from the line, which is a big harbinger for good things, and they shot the free throw 22 times. But here's another really interesting stat. In spite of the fact that Purdue gutted this game out and hit some big shots in the second half, they shot the 3 poorly again. So they're kind of manic. We're seeing this. On the road, they're going to struggle from deep. I wish the 3-pointer would travel. It hasn't really all that well this season, but they're learning to live with their lack of success behind the arc. Tonight, 3 of 13, just 23% from 3. And they still win going away, 69-58. Next up, they play Oregon. That's going to be a tough game. That's a good team. Oregon has shown that they're not perfect, which doesn't surprise anybody. But in the last few games, they've struggled a little bit. Big Ten basketball is a meat grinder. There's nothing surprising about that. But that's going to be a lot more of a test than Washington was, undoubtedly. So I'm going to go over to your comments because I'm going to try to get out of here relatively quickly since it's already 12:07 a.m. But Zachary Welch is first, and I think he enjoyed Caleb's big game. Karen, how are you? Karen was angst ridden, I think, in the first half, and we did not. She and I commiserated a bit via DM about how we did not enjoy the first half at all. How are you? Joe Hensley says after hours. Yes, this is a special Boiled Sports After Dark, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's definitely after hours. Jeff Nestor says Caleb was solid tonight, career high points. Yeah, that's Painter's. I don't want to say simple lineup change, but that lineup change made all the difference in the world. This team and the way they play, and Caleb First physicality has changed the way this team plays. There's no doubt. Let's not diminish though. It's not fair for me to say it's just his physicality that does it. I remind everybody he is a really good athlete. I mean, he gets off the court really quickly. He's laterally fast. And he can shoot. So it's good to see him. He's really, what he's doing is playing to potential. And I talked about it weeks ago, how he had a bit of Mel McCants disease where he came in as a freshman, was really good, and then kind of stayed the same. Well, we're starting to see what Caleb First is really, really capable of, and couldn't happen at a better time, really. Hopefully he can continue this the whole second half of the season. We'll see what happens. Zach Welch continues, but seriously, Caleb played fantastic, and we really need that in the first half, no doubt. Got the win in the West Coast. Time to get ready for Oregon. It wasn't just Caleb that wasn't doing great in the first half. Let's make no bones about it. Really, the whole team looked like they were sleepwalking. It was, and if you didn't watch it and you're just going based on what you're hearing from me, just fast forward to the second half, unless you were just a sadist, because like I said, it was. It's funny. I didn't enjoy the basketball. It was a horrible brand of basketball, just ugly. And then I was like, man, we stay up late for this. This is the product we get. Yeah. So not, but funny how energized you get once the game starts becoming a little more fun. My wife and I enjoyed that second half, man. The energy and the fact that Purdue was pulling down so many rebounds and only giving first. Single shot possessions to Washington, right? They get the first opportunity. That was it. And that made a huge difference. And Purdue, again, playing with pace in that second half. They grab the board and get up the court quickly. Made all the difference. Jeff Nestor says, shout out to all those West Coast fans came out to support the team. You guys sounded great. West Coast Boilermakers who are in the house tonight. You guys sounded great, and I think you helped propel the good guys. One of the funniest things, I think, at one point, tell me if I'm incorrect, whoever's listening, watching, but I heard one of the Purdue chants start, and then the Washington fans just kind of went over the top of it and just said Huskies. And I was like, that's weak sauce, bro. It's different out there, isn't it? Like I've seen Oregon, how they put curtains over some of their seats or during Christmas break because they can't get enough people to come, in spite of they were top 10. Washington, man, a lot of people sitting on their hands there. And that doesn't happen at Purdue. It really doesn't. Even when things aren't going great. Yeah. So way to bring the Big Ten to them, Boilermakers, both fans and players. Kevin Albuquerque says, good morning, Dowd. West Coast trips for Eastern time zone teams usually start a bit sleepy. Glad to see a better second half. Yeah, I thought it would start sleepy. I didn't think it would stay sleepy for 20 minutes. I thought 5-7 minutes, but man, Karen Grulock's back says, my hometown heroes and first best game. Tricky Fletcher seals the deal. Yeah, Fletcher's old man game is supreme. It's clever, it's crafty, whatever you want to say. He's a bit of a wizard with the way he creates, and he's so much better than he was a year ago at that. A friend of mine gives me a hard time for saying that I thought Colvin should have played for Fletch last year, and he should have, because there was a time where Fletch was disappearing, flat out disappearing. Fletch was not doing what he's doing this year, which is, number one, he would try to force things by going into the teeth of defense. I keep saying this. He'd go at a power forward and get swallowed up. Now what he's doing is he's going away from contact and he's really using his wits, and he's assessing the situation, and he's not forcing a shot. He's a guy, though, he's such a dead-eye shooter from deep, man. It may be okay for him to force a three or two, when the team's just not getting into rhythm. But I know this is part of the reason Paint loves him, though. He doesn't do things the coaching staff doesn't want him to do. He's a cerebral player. So right on, Karen. Nate Dolan says, Asabar, Utah State last year, really wanted that revenge. Great second half. Yeah, he did. He's going to have a hard time getting it, especially if TKR is motivated. They showed some highlights after the game, BTN did, where Asabar's trying to like really body up on TKR, and TKR was just banging the dude. Like, that came out wrong, but it was really physical. Let's just say that. And hitting Asabar, that's a big man, and TKR played tough. And I think I complained and maybe got after TKR last game a little bit, saying, and I don't know if it's a completely negative thing, but saying he's more of a technician, which he is. He's an incredible technician, but he missed those little, the thing that I bragged about last game was that little teardrop that he has where he sees a guy sag off, doesn't want him to get to the rim. So he sags off and then it's like, I'll take this. And he hits him. Well, I think he missed 3 of those in the first half. And then he started playing a rougher, tougher brand of basketball in the second half. Brian T says, our boys took Harry's motto with them to the West Coast, go ugly early. They were absolutely disgusting ugly. They're like me in the morning ugly, which is not good. This doesn't just happen. It takes hours to get to this face. Matt Keller says, this was a game where we couldn't find a bucket for the first half. Painter needs to adjust before halftime. That's just my 2 cents. Okay. That's a hilarious comment, because what you're doing is you're saying he needs to adjust before the game. They had a good game plan in place, and Purdue's vets were playing awful, flat out not dealing with physicality well, making dumb decisions. And I say they're vets. I would say the big three, TKR, Smith, and Fletcher, were the guys most guilty of playing poorly early in the first half. Paint's adjustments were brilliant. Brilliant. Whatever he had to do, whether it's psychological adjustment, gameplay adjustment, he told him to play with more pace, clearly, which was smart. Run those bigs to death. He did it. So I don't know. I don't know if I would give Payne a hard time for his game plan. I think the execution sucked, and I think it's okay to put that at the feet of 3 juniors, especially guys that are that experienced, and they heard the message of the second half. So Chuck Hall says 6 in a row. Let's go. Yeah, that's a hell of a streak. If you get 7 in a row, you come off the West Coast after beating Oregon. That means you'd be 7-1 in Big Ten. You're in really good position to be in contention for a Big Ten title, another Big Ten title. And this would be, if Purdue can be in contention at the end, don't forget Michigan State's undefeated. I think they're 7-0 or 8-0 in conference right now. They're kind of in the driver's seat, and they're not alone. There's a couple good teams up top. Oregon's right there. I think there's one other team. I can't think who it is right now. But just to be there is pretty impressive. This is, like I said, it's transitional year, but Purdue showed a ton of moxie tonight. They did what good teams do tonight. When you come out and you play flat and then you have to find something different, very impressive effort, in my opinion. Didn't impress Matt Keller, the coaching didn't impress him at all. Need to be in verse. Sorry, Andrew says, Caleb's blocks have been nasty lately. I'm glad he's dead wrong. I'm glad I was dead wrong about his ability to step up. You're not alone, so don't beat yourself up too much. But he had a block in midway through the second half. This might be the one you're talking about, where the dude, he tried to drive on him, and Caleb was coming on the weak side, kind of leaving his man, and he wiped that thing clean so quickly. The problem was Purdue went down quickly, missed a shot, or Washington came down, hit a 3, and so the wonderful producers at BTN didn't even look at that thing again. That was an incredible block. It was incredible. It showed his athleticism too. Very, very quick. So yeah, right on. IC says, shout out to my boy, Dillibert Boiler Up. Is that a reference to the guy on the team? I don't know if you're talking about Reidenbach or if you're talking about something else. I don't know. If it's one of your friends, I don't understand. This happens to me once a show. Joe Inslee says Washington had 9 turnovers at the half. Purdue had 1 last turnover with the shot clock violation with 1 second left. Washington 9 turnovers at the half. Purdue had 1 last turnover with the shot clock violation. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. That's 2 in a row. Good job. It's on me. Put it on me. It's not you that's failing. It's me. Marshall Briggs says, I loved hearing the Boiler fans out west. It's great. It's heartwarming. Olive D. Jazzer, don't know which one it is, says, first half was terrible. Agreed. Marshall Briggs says, just hope the Whose House chant from Boiler fans doesn't come back to haunt us in Eugene. Well, different places, so won't come back to haunt us. That was pretty awesome. Purdue did kind of what they did versus Michigan last year, right? Just took over the damn arena. It was great. Shane Hinkle says, the big thank you to the loyal fans who make these trips and truly fuel this team's success. Really love to hear the cheers over their home court. This speaks to something much bigger. I say this sometimes. I get I need to remind us sometime we're part of something pretty special. As Purdue alums, Purdue fans, Purdue alums, it's a big family, right? And sometimes these big public schools don't have much culture to them, but Purdue basketball has some culture to it, and people care about it, and it's really neat to be a part of it, even if it's just, going to a couple games a year. If you're just an average fan, you're part of something really special. Get to Mackey, you can feel it, but the roadies are that's pretty special. Purdue has reach, right? Good point. Dav out, I don't know, says, just got out of the stadium. Good Boiler turnout. Go Boilers. So you're one of the people to say thanks to. Nice job. Way to represent. Joe Inslee says, big weekend in the Big Ten. Purdue at Oregon, Illinois at Michigan State. There's the team I was missing, Illinois. Illinois beat IU by 1,000 last night. That was fun. And Fire Woodson chants were raining down in Assembly Hall. So sad to see that dream hasn't gone the way the IU fans thought it was going to be. So sad. Ancient Atomic Immortality says, first, having a great last season makes me happy for him because it's hard to end on a low note. First deserves to have a good last season because the dude works hard. He does the right thing. He's a really good dude off the court. He's a man of strong faith. Not that faith guarantees you success, but he's a legit guy. He's a legit dude. And it's really good to see him playing this way. Hope it continues. He is absolutely the straw that stirs the drink, though, because when he is playing lights out, or when he was, playing real physical like he did today, everybody feeds off of it. So it's great to see. John Timmons says that ball and court must have been coated in Crisco before the game. Check out some of the photos from the game. If you go and look at them on Twitter, I don't know what ball Washington was playing with. It's really weird. The panels are odd. They're oddly shaped. I don't know if it's a Nike ball, because it should be. They're a Nike team. But it's a really weird looking ball. And getting used to that. I know we've talked about this before, the big conspiracies about ball and what they do, but it was a weird looking ball. That's not the reason Purdue was playing badly. Purdue was playing badly in the first half because Washington was handsy. They were really active, and Purdue didn't counter it. So Mo P says, I think this is where the non-con schedule pays off in conference. The team had seen that from much better teams. Yeah, that type of kind of being rushed and trying to change the pace of the game, Purdue has seen that this year, and Washington is one of the weakest versions of that. So Purdue took a really good punch. I don't know if it's a best punch. 30 points and a half is not very good. By the way, they completely flipped the script, because I think in the second half Washington had 20 something, right? So yeah, 28. So Purdue really turned the whole thing around, but Purdue played with better pace. Olive G. Jazzer says Washington has a ton of culture. Their 1930s crew team won gold in Nazi Germany, not just basketball. Yeah, I saw that movie. It was a good movie. I saw it on Prime. I highly suggest it. Don't know what it's called right now. Very good movie though. Yeah, so yeah, they got culture, no doubt. Crew culture. Dude, their football team's incredible. And the way they follow their football team and the game day environment, that's one of the places, like one of the 3 or 4 places I think I need to go before I die. It looks incredible. But the basketball culture, different. I don't understand it. Seems like it'd be easier to get to a basketball game and cheer. Especially, I mean, that was, I guess 6:30 is an early tip-off, so maybe that's the excuse. I don't know. Zach Welch says, I think IU needs to give Woodson more time to get his guys in the program. IU should extend him. I think that's a great point. And if we can start some sort of GoFundMe or something, is that what we do? To try to make sure to rally around Mike Woodson, I think it's the right thing to do. Good point. Excellent point. Just give him a little time. Let him get his system in there. John Timmons says it's an Adidas ball. So I was wrong. Washington used to be a Nike school. I swear. I mean, they were a good Nike school. I got a picture on my wall up here of a game where Hummel and Kramer beat Washington in the round of 32, and they were a Nike team then, so I'm not keeping up on it. So it's an Adidas ball. It looked weird. The panels looked odd. So I guess they're an Adidas team, and I'm way behind. Pat Kennedy says Ryan Walters at the game. Who's to say? He's a Washington guy now. Marshall Briggs says, that's a good question, though. Marshall Briggs says, Purdue football had the Fire Walters chance. Yep. Boiler ball is killing it. IU ball has Fire Woodson chance, but football made the college football playoff. That's big irony. Yeah, IU is a football school now, I guess. So we'll see how that goes next year. Olive Jazzer thinks Woodson needs her time. Wants Woodson to run for president. At least 4 years away. So, hey, thanks to everybody for being here. It's late. I'm going to go to bed. Congratulations, fellow Boilers. You got to see a fun second half after just laboring through a first half. And thanks to, thanks to, where is he? I'm going to go back up there. Can't find his name. Darn it. Can't find his name. I'm so bad at this. I need a producer. If anybody wants to be the producer for Boiled Sports Post Games, let me know. I would love to have a producer. Yeah, Nate Dolan says Purdue plays at Washington the fall. Yeah, what's 8th game, I think, or something like that. So you're welcome, Andrew, by the way. Let's see. Good night, everybody. Have a great night. Hammer down. Purdue is, I'm going to give the correct record, 14-4, 6-1 in conference, and they head to Oregon next. Short little stint after Braden Smith and company. Braden carries his gaming system with him everywhere he goes. So they're going to enjoy some video games tonight, maybe unwind a little bit and enjoy the victory, but back to work shortly. Hammer down. Talk to you soon. Have a great morning. We'll see you.